Welcome back to another Wheel Wednesday, where I spin this wheel and get a prompt that has been given to me by viewers like you, or just people that look at the art normally, but whatever. Prompt. Today's prompt is from TheAbyssGarden over on DeviantArt, that being the middle snake. Now, there is some backstory to this. The wheel has already chosen their previous prompts, which were the last snake and the first snake. So, naturally, of course, the third prompt would be the middle snake. And when I originally got this prompt, I was thinking of just doing a completely normal snake, and then being like, oh, you know, that's what we have now. Snake. Just a normal snake. But instead I decided to go with, whatever the heck this is. Some weird deity snake thing. Yeah. I kind of got this idea, like, as I was looking up references of snakeheads, because I was thinking of a king cobra head, just because they got that nice hood that is more interesting than just a danger noodle shape. So I looked up what the heck a king cobra's head looks like, and I saw that or at least the snake that I saw, I honestly don't even know if it was a king cobra. Google images might have lied to me. But the snake's head that I saw had this large scale like in the middle of their head, and I just thought, I could put a face on that. So I did. And then I also put a second face also on there that was not correlated to a scale. That one's made up completely. I mean, there's like a itty bitty tiny scale there, but not nearly as large as the one directly on top of the head. The quote-unquote lore that I came up with was this was some sort of snake deity, as I previously said, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, obviously worshipped, yada yada, powerful, some sort of magic user, maybe. Big, powerful snake. But something, I haven't really thought that hard about it, gets killed, or maybe it dies of old age because it wasn't actually like a god or anything. It was just really strong and had magic abilities. And then in my head, this would tie in with the last snake, as maybe this specific snake was the cause of all the other large powerful snakes getting executed, hunted down, whatever, resulting in their extinction. And it ties in with the first snake because it's after that one. Yep. That's what I got to connect it with that one, because it was the first, and this is not the first. Riveting stuff, I know. Techniques. I tried to incorporate the thing that I've been doing on a couple recent drawings, which is doing it more painterly, where I've been doing one layer kind of stuff, but this time obviously not one layer, but I treated the body as one layer, if that makes sense, where I did the shape of it and then I just painted everything on it without using any more layers. So it is a little bit of cheating, at least if you consider not using one layer to be cheating, in the way that I got a shape and then I couldn't draw outside of that shape. But I just happen to like the results of what that painting on a single layer with this wider canvasy brush that I have been using for years now creates. You know, I kind of, midway through that sentence, forgot the start of the sentence, like how I started, but hopefully it made sense. Even the eyes I do on this one layer. I eventually add a color dodge layer, or an overlay layer, I don't remember, but to add more reflections to the eyes. But that isn't for quite some time. Also similar to how I do the painting on one layer style, I used like one really dark layer and then one really light layer. One dark color and one really light color. Not layers. I mean, kind of layers, in that the base layer was the dark color and then I put a layer of light color on top of it, whatever. The humanoid faces, I wasn't going for anything in particular, and I didn't look at any reference because I didn't want them to look exactly like people, since clearly this is some form of mimicry, being some weird face scales. So the uncanny is fine with me for that. So I just kind of left them how they are. Now I'm getting onto more eyes on its hood, which I originally, while doing the sketch, thought of making them like scale eyes. So not real ones, more mimicry. But then they kind of just became actual eyeballs, but looking in a bunch of different directions. So, you know, I guess they're not mimicry eyes, they're real eyes now. Why? Just because. You know, powerful magic monsters have more eyes randomly, right? I mean, the two faces already had some eyes, although I was thinking of them as like actually fake eyes, which is why I did not give them pupils. But I definitely gave those eyes on the hood pupils, that's for sure. The way I did the irises was with a hard round brush with varying opacity depending on pen pressure. And I started off doing the pupils, as you probably saw if you were paying attention closely. It's going pretty quick, I don't know how obvious that was. But I started the pupils, and then I did some darker like splotches / veiny bits on the outside of the eye, and then I used a lighter color. And for these I mostly did speckling rather than lines. Why did I do speckling instead of lines? I don't know, I just felt like it this time. And there are lines mixed in, all going towards the pupil, because iris muscle needs to pull apart and push together the pupil to focus light. So you can't just be sending those iris lines anywhere. They should roughly be going to the center / pupil, since it's these being slits. I didn't really go to the center. Most of them are actually kind of horizontal lines and splotches. Now if it was a circle, they'd all be going to the center. But again, not circles for this case. I'm just kind of rambling. I hope you can't tell. Here is that overlay / color dodge layer that I talked about like at the very beginning of this, if I recall correctly. But I just kind of used it to add more, or try to add more roundedness to the top of the snake hood, since it's not supposed to be flat. It's supposed to be, you know, rounding back into the body. Which I didn't mention, but I put the body in there. That was much simpler than the actual head, because it doesn't need to be that detailed. It's out of focus, not the main attraction or anything. I'm now adding a multiply layer using a similar color to the background, just to add some more shadowing, make it more cohesive with the background, since the snake is a bluey green and the background's brown. And now I'm using color dodge layer to add this magic-y stuff in, which is a complementary color to this bluey green. Well, complementary enough, let's say. And then I go in and add reflections on stuff that I would think that the light would have reflections on, and that's like all the time I have to yap more shadows, just fixing up a couple things here and there with light and shadow. Goodbye, bye, thank you for listening.